What's going on, y'all? It's State Representative Brandon McGee, and it's Monday. It's that time again. We're here inside the room where we discuss politics, leadership, and culture. And as always, I want to thank each and every one of you for thumbing through your phone and downloading FubuRadio.com app and just joining the culture and being a part of this very great movement. As we talked last week, we talked a lot about the verdict. We talked a little bit more about the vaccine. Shay shared with us her concerns, and it was just an amazing time. But on the same token, it was also a stressful time as Black people and as a Black male to really sit and watch the verdict. And I know I shared a few weeks ago how, on the same token, I have been very hopeful and frustrated at the same time. And so, as always, inside the room, we seek to engage in these types of conversations to really see where folks are, but most importantly, uplift our community and our culture. And for that reason, our podcast, our segment on Fubu Radio, has been a huge proponent of supporting emerging social entrepreneurs in their journey toward success. And recently, we have witnessed the world highlight the importance of small businesses, especially during this COVID pandemic, especially Black and Brown businesses throughout the country. And so today, I'm so extremely honored that not only are we dedicating this episode to that space of supporting our small businesses, we have, y'all, I'm gonna call him a social media mogul, influencer, none other than the attorney Jeff Caesar Chukwuma. Oh man, I messed that up. How did I miss? I was so close and I had it right.
The W is silent. Go ahead, one more.
Nope.
You gotta try. Get
okay.
it out.
All right. Chukwuma.
Perfect.
Jeez, Chukwuma. Let's start that over. None other than attorney Jeff Caesar Chukwuma and his firm, the CHR Group. Attorney Chukwuma was or has gained the attention of so many listeners using his influence, his social media platform to provide legal advice related to our judicial system and also addressing the very issue that we've been talking about for so long, the systemic racism that persists throughout this country and also within the judicial system. So as always, y'all join me. Come on inside the room. Help me to gather folks from all walks of life and help us to gain perspective on how we together can educate and uplift our communities. So again, we'd like to welcome Jeff to our podcast. Jeff, welcome, man. Welcome. So glad to have you on.
Appreciate it. I love it. I love everything you're doing. I love how you're inspiring and motivating everybody. Yeah, I'm happy to be here, man.
That's what's up. So a little bit about attorney Jeff. He is a founding and managing partner at Chukwuma. Oh, Lord have mercy. This is so embarrassing.
W silent.
Chukwuma. Why do I make it so? I make it so difficult. Shay is gonna laugh at this one. Chukwuma, and check this out. Hildebrandt and Ray, law group. Their practice focuses primarily on criminal defense, complex civil litigation, and personal injury, just to name a few of what they all really hone in on in terms of their legal insight. However, what's really interesting to me is before founding the firm, Mr. Chukwuma served as an assistant state attorney for Florida's 17th Judicial Circuit. Extremely impressive, y'all. I mean, he looks like he's 19. So to have such an impressive resume is phenomenal. But during his tenure as a prosecutor, He investigated and prosecuted a wide range of felony criminal cases, including but not limited to drug trafficking, robbery, armed home invasion, and murder. He has tried over 50 criminal cases to verdict. In addition to his legal practice, and I talked about this during the opening, he's cultivated an extensive online following on social media, having accumulated over 300,000, that's probably lowballing y'all, on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, just to name a few. My friend, tell us a little bit about yourself. What influenced you to be an attorney and also to open up your practice?
So my mother has a really big impact and influence on my life because I respect everything she's done her whole life. She herself, she's a criminal defense attorney in Broward County. So from a very young age, just watching her try her cases, how passionate she was about what she does, and how I was able to see her help people, I always knew that that's the career path I wanted to follow. Now I say that saying, I didn't have too many options though. My parents are Nigerian. I'm fully Nigerian. Both of my parents are Nigerian. There's a funny joke. I don't know how much of it's a joke, but Nigerians will get me here. You only have one of three options: doctor, lawyer, or engineer. And I happen to choose the legal route. So yeah, my dad's an ER trauma doctor. My mom is an attorney. I'm the oldest of three. I'm a lawyer. My sister just finished medical school. My little brother just graduated from Harvard last May. So
wow, congratulations, man. Well, congratulations to your mom and your dad. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
amazing.
They did a great job. Each child got progressively better. But yes, she had a huge impact on my me wanting to be a lawyer. But aside from that, what I always like to tell people is that it's important to do what you love, but it's equally important to do what you're good at, right? So it doesn't matter how much I wanted to be in the NBA or sing like Chris Brown when I was younger. I wasn't given that talent. I say that to say a lot of people, follow dreams, and not to say you don't follow your dream, but you also have to be realistic in yourself. Because I know a lot of people who followed certain dreams, like I could have gone down that route and it wouldn't have worked out. So it's important to do what you love, but also make sure you do what you love, right? So if it had not been for my parents, and I feel like this is a problem with a lot of African Americans in our country, we don't have too many professional or educated role models to look at. There's nothing wrong with being an athlete or entertainer, right? That's completely fine, but we must also have people who are in positions of power, both politically and educationally, that we could look up to, as role models. Had it not been for my parents, I wouldn't have had that guidance. And and most African Americans, our only role models, or all we see, is sports and entertainment,
right?
Which is only 1% of people make it in those industries, but everybody feels shooting at the same hoop, but not making the shot, right? So I think even why I have a following in the first place is that my diversity, I'm still young, I travel, I have fun, but I'm still a professional, I'm educated. When I was younger, I thought, something had to give, that I couldn't live my life and still be an attorney or be a professional, but that's the furthest thing. And I'm able to show that, like, being a lawyer can be fun. Being a lawyer can be cool. And it won't change the type of life you want to have, provided you don't let it change you.
That's dope. That's dope. I mean, oftentimes people are so misled by social media and the perfect picture and, the filters, etc. But I think what's most interesting about your platform is you really tell people, like, you got to work for this. I didn't just wake up. And I think one of the videos that the last video I saw, where I think you start off with your phone kind of alarm going off and the clock, and you getting all GQ'd up going into the office. Talk to us a little bit about like your approach or philosophy to winning in a case, but winning in life. I'd love to hear from your perspective, but in the reverse, in life, and then talk a little bit about what it means to you when you're representing a case and winning. So your approach or philosophy to winning or representing a case, but I want to add in life as well.
So my philosophy to winning in life is this, right? It doesn't matter how small it is. Each day we should always progress to become a better version of ourselves. I don't like working out. I work out twice a day. I promise you, I don't like it, but I think it's necessary.
How do you have time to work out? I've been trying to figure this out. I got 2 kids. My wife works full time. She's an attorney as well. Like, how do you figure this out? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to throw you off, but
no problem. Everybody says there's not enough time. There's plenty of time. This is how you allocate your time. You know, I wake up, work 30
You ain't got no kids, do you?
None. Not yet. I want 3 though.
Okay.
It's time for everything, whether you're Elon Musk or, you know, there's just time, you know, and I only average 4 or 5 hours of sleep. People say you need more. I don't. I guess I'm fortunate, but there's time for everything. You just have to allocate your time. There's a lot of downtime that people waste, you know. You're home, you're just watching your favorite show, you know, or you're just on social media, you're laying on your bed, you get trapped in Instagram. That's time that you could be applying to something else. You know, a lot of people work 8 hours for someone else, come home, don't work on themselves. You know? So there's definitely time. You have to make time for everything. But going back to my philosophy on life is that every day you need to strive to become the best version of yourself. You know, school doesn't teach us enough. You have to independently seek knowledge yourself, you know, and everything I do, it's for the betterment of myself as a whole to reach the goals I want to attain, right? I recently started meditating a couple months ago, you know, just because I heard about the benefits. Well, I wanted to see if it's true. Let me apply it. You know, little things like that you have to go out of your way to do yourself. So what separates successful people from unsuccessful people is discipline and execution. We all have dreams. You go, what do you want to do in 5 years? What do you want to do? Everybody knows. But the problem is people are not disciplined enough to do what it takes to execute to get there. It's easy to have a dream. Anyone can have a dream. I want to do this. I wish I could do that. Okay, well, how are you going to go about doing it? Like you said, it doesn't come easy. You have to be disciplined enough to do it. You think I like waking up at 5 every day? Of course not. You get more done by 9 than most people do in a day. And that's what reason. You feel like that's what reason. You know, so
listen up, y'all. If y'all just tuning in, we have none other than the attorney Chukwuma. He's on here spitting some jewels, y'all. Not only is he an attorney, he's a former prosecutor there in Florida, and also a social media influencer that's just not, you know, showing the exercise and body or, you know, showing all of his clothes and fine jewelry. He's providing some very important philosophies, if you would, on life to a lot of followers on all of his platforms. I mean, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to make sure we're engaging folks as they come in. So your philosophy on winning cases, representing and winning cases, because clearly you've won a lot of cases.
Yeah, so the biggest difference I've seen, which I'll relate to winning cases, but my time as a prosecutor, when you're a prosecutor, a lot of people think you represent the victim, right? That's not the case. You represent, in my case, the state of Florida. Representing the state of Florida in prosecuting criminals, right? Not a victim. So I say that to say, when you're a defense attorney now and you actually have clients, everything is in the best interest of your client. Whatever is in the best, provided, of course, you don't overstep any ethical boundaries.
That's right.
Instead of just representing the state of Florida and prosecuting a criminal, you know, the difference is you lose a trial as a prosecutor, okay, cool, nothing happens.
Right.
Well, you lose a client as a defense attorney, and your client goes to jail or prison, see, that's a problem. You know, so the stakes are a lot higher. So whatever it takes to make sure my client is in the best position, that's my philosophy in winning as far as it pertains to my legal profession. You know, and there are a lot of attorneys, not all attorneys put in the same work. You know, you might pay an attorney a certain amount of money and they're just doing the bare minimum. You know, while I pride myself on always going above and beyond all my clients, there's nothing worse than you pay your attorney a lot of money and you can't get a hold of them. You know, they pay you.
I know a few of those.
They don't text back. You can't get a hold of them. They're not explaining anything. No, we don't do that. You know, so that's my.
So really quickly, before we take a quick break and pay some bills, tell us a little bit about your pivot, right? Because you could have very well remained as a prosecutor, retired, had a beautiful pension, and then go into this world of starting your own practice. What made you wake up one day, or however long it took you to partner with your current group of folks? What made you make that change and take that leap of faith, right? What was that? What can you tell young folk and people that are interested in really stepping out and starting their own business?
Well, I always knew I wanted to have my own firm. I always knew I wanted to be a criminal defense attorney. Yeah, as far as my partners, I mean, I came up with this plan for law school. This is an 8-year long plan, with my partner.
Wait, pause. Say that again. 8 years.
8 years in the making.
Because people think they're supposed to wake up
just came to
yesterday and make $1 million.
It just came to fruition in December. I went to grad 4 years, didn't take a break at all, no summer off, no semester off, law school 3 years, no break. The reason I was a prosecutor was in preparation for being a defense attorney. I always tell people never hire a defense attorney who wasn't a former prosecutor. It's like playing with Tom Brady, having the playbook and then playing against it, right?
Ooh,
but it was necessary in order for me to get my experience. Now I'm a defense attorney who knows exactly what the state needs to do to prove their cases, right? Which will help me be able to combat it, but also give me courtroom and trial experience. There are attorneys who've been practicing for 10 years who don't have 3 trials. So that experience was invaluable. But in being a prosecutor, what I realized is, my friends, especially Black people, you're a prosecutor, they freak out. You're the feds.
Yeah.
Which is and that's why it was very important for me to explain why, as a prosecutor, I was in a better position to help people. Why is that? Because a defense attorney, I'm getting everything on the back end, right? As a prosecutor, I have the power from the inception of the case to decide whether I'm going to choose, whether I'm going to prosecute, or if something's wrong, if the police did something improper, whether I'm still going to go forward. There's power in that because I have the ultimate decision, right? That's right. So, and once people see it like that, a bad stop, police officer does something improper, case gone, so people don't see it like that. They have to be, you have to see it from both sides, and that's what I realized in me being a prosecutor to get the experience for my ultimate goal as being a defense attorney and having my own firm.
Well, listen up, y'all. If you just tuned in again, we're talking to attorney Chukwuma. He's sharing, again, he's dropping jewels, and I hope y'all taking notes. So y'all keep it locked. Don't go nowhere. What's going on, y'all? If you're tuning in, we are here with attorney Chukwuma. And he is giving us a lot of information, y'all, on his personal journey to becoming a leading attorney, not only a leading attorney, but a successful firm with his partners there in Florida. He also dropped a couple jewels in terms of his mom. Anybody familiar with West Indian moms or folks from Nigeria, which attorney Chukwuma is, his roots go all the way back there. We live in strict homes and our parents don't play. And so at all, right? So I'm just glad that everybody's tuned in, and we're talking about the importance of supporting small businesses, talking about his own personal journey. But I want to pivot a little bit, and I want to really tap into what the nation is feeling right now. A little pain, a little victory, but also a sense of urgency of now, meaning we have to continue the work. So tell me a little bit, about your initial reaction when you first saw the video of Derek Chauvin, Chauvin's knee on George Floyd's neck. And again, during the pre-show, I told you I've not watched the video. I read the transcript, but I've not watched the video because it triggers a lot of stress and frustration, quite frankly. And that stress and frustration usually rears its ugly head in some other places, like back aches when you get a little older. And you're a little younger than me, I think. I don't know. How old are you, by the way?
29.
29? What?
Yeah, man.
Okay. All right. I ain't gonna tell you my age. I'm 37.
You look good, man. Keep it up.
Listen, I got to do 2 days in the gym.
Let me know.
But talk to us a little bit about your initial reaction when you first saw that video.
I was going through many different emotions. I was angry. I was sad. I was in disbelief. At times, I felt hopeless. I just couldn't understand how this happened. To me, it's like we watched a modern day lynching. We watched this man executed in front of the world to see. Now, what disturbed me most is that not even knowing that he was being recorded by multiple people could prevent him from killing George Floyd. Because typically, when you're doing something wrong and you're being recorded, what do?
You stop. Or you perform, one or the other.
Which leads me to believe that he didn't care. He knew that even if he did this, nothing was gonna happen. And that's what shocked me the most. You're literally being recorded by multiple people. You almost have a smirk on your face. Not even the fear of being recorded, you doing something improper could prevent you from killing that man. That's what did it for me.
Wow. And I'm sure, did you take a look at the trial, the Chauvin trial? What were you thinking? I mean, as an attorney, a prosecutor, what were some of your thoughts? I mean, high level.
Yeah, so I learned as a prosecutor that you never know how the jury is gonna come back. Never know. So that's why I believe the state had an extremely strong case. The video in and of itself, the video doesn't lie, the video is not biased, the video has no motive. The video literally speaks for itself. It's not every case where you have evidence that's strong. I mean, the jury was able to see him kill him. The question of it was more so what caused his death, right? Mm-hmm. So with that, I thought the state had an extremely strong case, but I didn't know how it was going to go. I thought he was going to be found guilty as charged on all counts, you know, and what I thought happened, but it was very nerve-wracking because, you know, seldom is it that we ever get to a trial where an officer kills a black man, let alone a guilty verdict. So when after the verdict, when people were like, it's not justice, it's accountability, I did not like that. Only because to me, there is justice in there finally being accountability. Now, that's not to say there's not a lot more to do. There's so much we need to do, but this is a huge first step. And we must keep the ball rolling. We must build momentum from this. You know, there is justice and there finally being accountability, because usually they're not being held accountable, which would mean what? Injustice, you know? So.
Wow, you have me thinking on that very point in terms of the differences between justice and accountability. I had a conversation with a few folks here in the state of Connecticut, several interviews, what was my, reaction, how do I feel, all this stuff. And I started off with saying, justice, it's been served. And I got a lot of pushback and people were like, well, I don't know if justice has actually been served. Just because he's, he's guilty on all three counts does not mean life is great. But in my mind, I'm like, yes, indeed, justice was served, because when was the last time we had a person, a white police officer for that matter, the police chief speak against, his colleagues speak against? Like that's against every blue code that there possibly is.
People are confusing it with justice for everything. That's not what we're talking about. Justice in this instance. No, his guilty verdict isn't going to bring George Floyd back. But the fact that he was finally found guilty and being held accountable, that is justice. Because what would injustice be? Them not indicting him, him not even having to face trial. That would be injustice.
Breonna Taylor.
Exactly. Right? Exactly.
we can go down the list.
Him going to trial and not getting, and the jury not finding him guilty. So for them to say there's no justice, so if there's no justice now, what would that have been?
Wow.
There's a lot more to do, but we need to build on it, Take our victory and build on it.
So given like the unrest or the recent unjust events that have taken place throughout our country, in your sphere of influence, in your circles, have you noticed a change in dialogue and representation throughout the legal sector? Or is it still the same? I gotta make my dollar. I'm good on all of that social justice stuff. Help us unpack that a little bit.
So what I've seen throughout the legal community, I can't say I've personally seen any particular change in the legal community. But let me tell you where I have seen change. I have seen change in people in general. as a whole. People are fed up. People are over it. It's been reoccurring, but it's a lot more prevalent now because of all the videos and footage that we have, right? This is what I usually tell people. If the problems of the world aren't yours to begin with, how do you ever really care? And that's how I see racism in this country. That's right. It doesn't mean that somebody who's white is racist, you know? It's just, it doesn't apply to them. The problems and the plight of African Americans in this country don't apply to them. So why would they care? Let me give you an example. Syria. Something wrong happens in the world. Everybody on social media, Instagram, pray for Syria. Well, that's the extent of their care. Why?
That was it.
Because you're not the one who's living fearing whether you're getting bombed by your own government, Russia or the United States. You're not living that. You know, it's very easy to be like, pray for Syria, but that's the extent of your care because it doesn't personally affect you. Well, similarly with racism here in America. I say that to say, let me bring it full circle. The change that I've seen is people who it doesn't affect are now starting to care. That is the change that I've seen. People who it doesn't affect are now, it's not just minorities or African Americans, people who doesn't affect that are now starting to be like, okay, we have a problem here. This is not working. Something needs to change. And that's, I mean,
on that point, which is very important to underscore. I remember Safely Done last year, I attended a lot of protests. I spoke at many of them, but most of them, I was just an active participant. And when I would speak before these thousands of young people, young people, college bound, I didn't see all Black folk. I saw an extremely diverse group of people who are just simply tired of the injustices. And to your point, there were so many of them who did not live in communities that have been disproportionately impacted. These have been people who live in their nice little communities, and really, if they wanted to, could just be like, I'm good. Leave me alone and I'll mind my business. And so I'm glad that you're able to pull that out and to really help us to understand that it's bigger than just what people want to make it. However, and I could hear Dr. Cornel West, my distinguished fraternity brother, say, race still matters. And it does. But I know even here in the General Assembly in the state of Connecticut, there are more white folk allying with Black folk to figure out how can we coalesce a movement that would move the needle forward when you begin talking about serving justice to the people who have been most impacted. So I'm really, I get fired up when we start talking about this.
I love it, man.
Because we have so much work that we have to do. However, we do need to at least woosah for a moment when we have these small wins. And that small win was in that verdict just about a week ago. So in closing, from your perspective, what is a practical approach to enhancing the communications between law enforcement and our Black community? Not limited to, but I want it to be very intentional with my questioning. How can we deepen that relationship? And by the way, we've been talking about this before you and I were born, in terms of the relationship between communities of color and law enforcement. What's your take on that?
Yeah. There first has to be a willingness to listen, right? A lot of the time when we try to have these dialogues, they're so emotionally charged. They're so contentious to the point where nobody wants to listen to one another, right? And in that, we must recognize and validate people's feelings, especially Black people, but also law enforcement as well, right? That's part of the problem, because without doing that, without there being empathy, there can be no solution. There must first be
Jeff,
solution.
Listen, okay, so we get a verdict, and then hours later, another young Black person was shot. How can you tell me to listen to them? And I'm playing the devil's advocate. Help me to understand how this goes.
If you go into anything just saying the other person is wrong, without validating or listening to their concerns, you've already lost. It won't be a conversation. It won't be a conversation, because then they're going to be defensive and they're going to come back and no. You need to understand where they're not admit they're right.
That's right.
The bottom line is, this is the bottom line of everything. The current state of policing is not working, period. What do we do about it? In order to have that discussion, we need to open up a dialogue. Why we can't have that dialogue is because when we try to, people are so contentious and emotionally charged, right? And a lot of that, especially in today's day and age, a big part of that is the media and social media. Everything is about sound bites. Everything is about ratings. Everything is about clicks. Everything's about drama. Everything is about conflict, right? People don't want to hear anything that doesn't conform to their own world beliefs. With that, you have information by affirmation, right? With that, it makes people more angry. What does that anger cause? Resentment. Ultimately leading there to be no dialogue. So to bring everything full circle, there needs to be a willingness to listen. That doesn't necessarily mean you're saying the police are right or justified in anything, but just like Black people have their concerns, they do too. So in order to have any dialogue, whether it's this topic or any topic, you have to come to the table with open ears to listen. Otherwise, there's no dialogue. It's more contentious and we get nowhere.
That's what's up. Well, again, thank you, man, for just taking time out on a Wednesday to be here. It looks like I'm looking in the reflection in your window. It's still beautiful outside.
Yeah, I'm still in
Miami. I see you're working. So one last thing, leave the people with how they can follow you to add to your 1 million followers on all your social media platforms.
Yes.
And any final comments, man, and how people can just stay in touch with you. And we do have a listenership in Miami, in the Florida area. Tell folks how to get in touch with you.
Oh yeah, all my social media handles are IAMCAEZ. That's IAMCAEZ. You can find me there. You can follow me. My firm page for my firm is CHR Law Group, and you guys send me a DM. I have my phone number there as well. You could email me, and yeah, I'm available. And again, Mr. McGee, thank you for having me. This was amazing. I love everything you're doing. This is the fact that we ourselves could have this dialogue and have people listen. I believe it could help us all, So yeah. Pretty dope.
Well, after 30 minutes, I'm glad I have your name correctly, Mr. Chukwuma.
There it is.
So we stumbled our way up the hill, but no, I hopefully we could have you back just to kind of fill us in. And I wish nothing but great success, man, to you, your entire family, and maybe we can get you and your mom on to talk and have two different perspectives in terms of law. That might be dope. So that's something to think about. But as always, thank you all for listening. We'll see you, or rather you'll hear us again next Monday as we continue to gain a lot of perspective to help us to educate and uplift our communities. Don't go nowhere, y'all.